Now, PHP is a backend server-side scripting language. Like I said, PHP, it's not on its own. So we're using this VM virtual user code. So let me just delete everything. Now, to start PHP, now let me get a basic HTML page. Sorry, so let me delete Bootstrap. Just a basic HTML page so that we can use it just as a starting point. Yeah, okay, let me copy this. Paste it here. I can delete this line. I don't need Bootstrap basically, but I can delete this line. I just need the header, just a simple HTML page, the header, and this. So this is just like a simple HTML page. So HTML page has the HTML tag, the head tag, the title tag, and the body tag. I already said last week that when you are saving your file, you save it inside of XAMPP. So you don't save, because it's a server-side scripting language, you don't just save it anywhere on your system. It has room. So when you are saving, you're going to save file, save as, that's on VS Code. You're going to locate your XAMPP folder. So on your drive C, when you install XAMPP on Windows, I think on Mac, it's going to be on the application folder on Mac, but on Windows, it's going to be on your drive C. So XAMPP, this is your server XAMPP. Then inside this htdocs, this is where your server will read the files from, htdocs. You can create any folder. So let me delete, I think this is what we did the last time, but let me delete this so that this was last week. Let me create it. So you create a folder inside this stuff and just say maybe, you know what, this week we're talking on data structure. So data structure. So data, let me just bring the data. Now this is the folder. So this folder, if you are developing a project now, this folder will be your project name. And this is the folder you push to GitHub. This is the same folder you declare to the server. Because your folder should contain all your codes. You get so if you are giving your code now, so if you are pushing your code to GitHub, you will push everything in this data to your GitHub. And the same thing, your server will pull everything in the data and run on the server basically. So now your first file in PHP should be called index.php, because that is the first file that when the server loads that folder, it will look for the index.php by default. So we'll call it index.php. So this is what we call the file. So this is just us saving a file, a blank file. So we'll save the file, a PHP file. And PHP, because it's a PHP programming language, we'll end the extension with .php. If it's HTML, it will be .html. So basically, so how then do we read this file on our system? So to read this file on your system, just open, because we are developing locally, it's always called localhost. Or so you are seeing either localhost or some persons will use 127.0.0.1. This is always your local development IP. Well, let's use localhost. So localhost, then slash. Now you give it the name of the folder. So this application is coming from so the name of the folder is called data. So I'll give it localhost/data. So this is my file. It's empty. But how do I use my file? You can see this hello word. So you can see this hello word here at the title. So that is the title here, hello word. So if I say, let's say to this class, for example, if I change this to this class, save and reload this, then change it to this class. You can see how fast it is, very fast to this class. So when you are seeing all these pages, all these are title pages basically. So what is on the title section will be what your browser will read and display at the title on the page. Now, where your code basically comes in is on the body. I will say this code I'm done now is HTML code. So you can see this is where the HTML starts. So if I collapse this stuff, you can see the HTML starts here and ends here. So everything here, we've not done anything about regards to PHP yet. Everything we're doing here is just raw HTML. Now we want to input our PHP server-side code into this our HTML code. Remember, HTML is the building block for front end. But when it comes to server-side script language, what user cannot do. So those are backend programming. And we said to start PHP, we always use this tag. So this is the starting tag of PHP. And the good thing about ID is that ID will give you suggestions. So you can say I could just just give me a suggestion. You want to start PHP, I said enter. So this is the starting of PHP, and this is the ending of PHP. Remember, if you start it, you must end it. That's what we agreed last week. if you open it and you don't close it, it's an error. So if you open it, you must close it. We talked about comments last week, and we said there are two types of comments in PHP. There's the single line comment and there's the multi-line comment. So single line comment is this. So anything, once the user sees this, once the server sees this 2 backslash, it's going to skip this line 8 because this comment is for human documentation. So you may have a code that you wrote now, and maybe in the next 6 months, remember, so comment helps you add human documentation to your code, because if you are coding, mostly if you are doing a collaboration, if you are working together like developer, it's not just for only you are working together with a different developer. So just try and think about the next guy. Don't program the way I understand it. How about the next guy may not understand what you're trying to pass? So you can put comments here. So at this point, I was trying to do this. At this point, I'm trying to get this record. Or at this point, I'm trying to validate this phone number. So comments, single line comments. Then for multi-line comments, it's going to start like this and end like this. So any line, anything I put in between here is going to be commented out, and the server will not run it. Yeah, so this is single line, this is just one line, and this is structure for multi-line. So when the server reads up, down, when it gets to line 8, it sees this single line and say, this is a comment, it skips it. It gets to line 10, it sees this, and it sees the closing tag, and it says everything here is a comment, and it skips it. So if I save this page out and try to reload it now, we're also going to see a blank page. We're not giving the server any instruction. It's just comments we just put on server, basically. So this was also last week. I don't know if there's any questions, so that's fine. So this is single line comment, multi-line comment. Then we talked about, okay, now variables. Now what are variables? So I gave the analogy of having a Pepsi bottle, drinking the Pepsi bottle. Now you use that same bottle to buy petrol. So the bottle is the variable. What is inside the bottle is the contents. So variable is just basically is like a container to store a value. So that's just a simple of a variable. So variable is like it's just like you having a container to store a value. The value does not concern the variable. Just you having, at that point, you're using that variable to hold the value. So how do you declare variable in PHP? Anytime you use a $sign, you are declaring a variable in PHP. So if you are looking through your code and you see a $sign, just know at that point they're trying to declare a variable. So that's the rule. So for now, so PHP has lots of already defined. But for now, we're going to define our own variables. And we're saying, so variable username, user first name. So it's equals to, so now we also said that every statement in PHP will have to end with a semicolon. So every instruction you give to PHP, it doesn't really matter the number of lines, but every instruction, at the end of every instruction, always end with a semicolon. If you don't end with this semicolon, PHP won't flag an error. And we've said this is this is a variable because it starts with a $sign, and this variable is a string because how do I know it's a string? It starts and ends with a quotation, with a quote, a double quote. So any value that starts with a quote, whether single or double, is called a string. But I said last year that let's stick with the double quotes because the double so has lots of advantages over a single quote, which we'll see later. So a variable can also hold a number. So I could say user account balance. So let's see what we're doing now. So user account balance is equals to 10. Now, a variable can also hold even a number. So this number, remember, it starts to end with a semicolon. So this number is called an integer number. A variable can also hold a decimal number, like pi, is equals to 3.142, semicolon. I would say a variable can hold a boolean. What's a boolean? True or false? So true or false is user log in. And we can say, okay, false. User is not logged in. So this is, so let me just put it. So this is string. I'm adding a comment. Remember, this is a comment. I'm adding a comment to this. This is string. This is an integer variable. This is a floating or decimal or double. Any of them is the same thing. You see floating. This is a boolean. So boolean is true or false. Boolean. So when I say boolean, is either true or false. It can't hold any other value outside those two. Boolean is true or false. Then we have the nor. So as user user comments. Let's just say user comments. User commented is equal to nor. Now this is a null variable. Now what's null variable is? So this is a null variable type. So what not data type? So what's null variable is that this variable exists. It exists, but it's holding a null value, like an empty value. So it exists. The variable exists, but the variable has nothing assigned to it yet. So that's null, like empty value. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we'll talk about array. User accepted cities. And you cannot declare an array. So an array is just a variable that can hold multiple values. So an array is a variable that can hold multiple values. So why a variable is just a single, it can hold a single value. So if you look at this string, integer, decimal, boolean, it's just single value they're holding. This is a semicolon. But an array can hold multiple values, and it doesn't matter any data type. An array can hold multiple values of any data type. So an array starts with this. So a brackets. So anytime the server sees this stuff, it knows at this point you are trying to declare an array. You get, and what it does is that just put, okay, let's say accepted cities, and I'm saying for this my app, the cities I'm accepting is, let's say Benin, Warri. So I will list those contents I want inside this array, and let's say Saple. So these are values my array has hold. Remember I said an instruction was in the semicolon. It doesn't really matter the line. So I could make this like this. So this. The server will still see this as one instruction. So the line does not really matter. You could put lots of line. All those empty lines is seen as nonsense. It just keeps on saying this empty. So every instruction must end with a semicolon, like the end of an instruction. This is an instruction. I've said, okay, on this line 16, on line 15, assign a null value to this variable called user commented. Now, if you look at this stuff, I've done now, one thing is, once you look at that, I've made sure that my variable makes meaningful sense. So like user first name, at this point, I'm trying to get the user first name. User account balance, at this point, I'm trying to get the user account balance. Pi, general, pi is 3.142, it makes sense. Is user logged in? It makes sense. User accepted city, okay, maybe this on this app, these are the cities that we're allowing users to come in from. You get, so don't just name it, because the variable is, and it's up to you. Don't just name variable A is equals to maybe Obaseki. Let's say Godwin Obaseki. Then, and I said I did something like Edo State Governor, for example, is equals to Governor Obaseki. So which makes sense more? You look at this stuff now. A is equals to Obaseki. If somebody comes to your code tomorrow, you'll be like, what is A is equals to Obaseki? What's A? A can be anything. But look at this stuff that I've said. Edo State Governor is equals to Governor Obaseki. So it makes sense. So make sure your variables, because we're also diving into writing clean codes. So your code should be easy to read, easy to understand, and just easy to just flow through. So one of the rules of writing clean code is that your variable naming, because you are in charge of naming the variable, anything you give to the computer will use it. So your variable naming must be clear and precise. It must make sense to the value it's holding for easy understanding. So if I name like this now, it means that I don't need to have lots of comments in my code, because I've complied with one rule of naming variables, is that it is clear. So I don't need to start commenting this thing and saying, but on this stuff now, I will say A, then I'll now put A represents Edo State Governor. All these are unnecessary. Once you're going through, you know, okay, at this line 25, oh, I'm trying to say Edo State governor is equal to governor. Like, you understand, straightforward. I'll use array on username variable. Yes, so the thing is, okay, so good, I like this question. So it's asking if you can use array on username variable. So the stuff is that it's up to you. You are the developer. Now, the rules of array is that, do you want to have multiple username? So will the user have multiple username? I think username is always one username. Yeah, so when you are intending to store multiple value, you go with array. When you're intending to store just one value, you go with a variable. So it's up to you. It's not fixed. So the rule is that when you want to store multiple values in a particular, let's say, variable, you use an array. When you are saving just one value, you use a variable. So that's just the truth is just basically the same thing. But that's it. Then we said if we want to show this stuff on our browser, we use the echo keyword. So this echo is to print. You can see PHP gives you a suggestion, VS could give you a suggestion. So echo. So echo, if I put echo Edo State governor now, remember end with a semicolon. And we'll save this stuff on our browser. We'll go back to our browser. I think this is our browser, yeah. You can see Godin Obaseki. So then if we put account balance, it's going to show us 10. Refresh this, it's going to show us 10. If you put its login, I think this will show us empty because it is false. False and empty is almost the same thing. Yeah, it's false. So it's empty. Now, then if we put in pi will give us, so echo is just a command to show what you've done to your browser. So let's say, for example, to 3.140 basically. I think we'll go into maths on this course. We'll look at echo, so you can run lots of business logic and not echo to the user and say, okay, this is the output of your result. After you've done lots and lots, but definitely it's also good for you to carry the user along. So you must present the data. Imagine using an app and they're not giving you feedback now. So echo is just for you to give a feedback back to user after running like multiple business logic or programming logic at the back end. You like to take user, this is what you requested for. Then for array, now if I put echo here and array, it's going to bring out an error. So why? Is because it's going to be an error because it does not hold one value. So you have to tell it, okay, fine. It's assumed that yes, you are very correct. This is a variable, but it's telling that this variable does not hold one value. So which are you looking at Bini, Worry, or Sapler? Which one do you want? So how you give it is that you have to put a bracket in between. Sorry. So you have to put a curly braces in between and say, okay, fine. The first position of an array is always 0. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So if I want Benin, I'll put a 0 to it and say, okay, fine. I'm giving me this array, but on the first one, which is Benin. So if I save this now, refresh this, it's going to give me Benin. Now the next one is, let's say I'll need Worry, I'll put a 2. I'll save it. It's giving Sapler. Then, yeah, 2. Yeah, because this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So if I put 1 here, it's going to give me Worry. So basically, this was basically what we just did through last week. So is it clear? So just a run through of last week. So let's see if we can play. Any question, please? Basically, what we just did last week. So just talk about I think I've covered was comments, variables, and data structure. So then there's also a last data structure called an object. So because using Symfony, so what we're doing now is we're doing procedural programming. Procedural programming is just you writing code one line. But where we are going to is object-oriented programming. We'll be working with objects because for us to use those framework of Symfony Laravel, we have to have objects. We have to understand objects. And if you are going towards the industry uses object-oriented programming. So what is object-oriented programming? Object-oriented programming is just you. Now these are the 6 basic type of data type or data structure in PHP. But there's a 7th one of you declaring your data type. So now I give an example. Last week I said, let's say I want to declare an object car. I'm working for Toyota. I want to declare an object car. Now I'll give a car object and assign all the properties of a car, like the car type, the car make, the car price, the car manufacturing date into that object, and I'll call it on my side. So I said, let's not go there, because if we go there, we're going to mess things up. So, but we'll go into object-oriented programming. So just remember that there's a last type called object, which is OOP, which is where we must go to. But let's start from this procedural programming. So I think that makes it the 7. So we have string, numbers, integer numbers, decimal numbers, true or false boolean, null, which is empty, array, so is a variable that has multiple value, and this is string. This is printing out an array value basically. So here is no question. So let's proceed to this. I think we're fine because there's no question. So meaning that I've covered what we've done here. I've also covered this also. Okay, so good. So let's look at concatenation. Yeah, we talked about concatenation last week, so I think I've skipped that also. So what's concatenation? Let's say, for example, I want to join words together. So I want to say, thank you username, but your account balance is account balance. I want to join variables together. So how do I do that? I'll put echo, so thank you, and shift. So I'll put a dot, shift. Username is first name. So thank you username, dot, comma, your account balance is dot user account balance. So you see this dot here, it's called concatenator. It's used to join. So I'm joining this string with this variable, with this string, with this variable to make a single, is like a statement. You get. So if I load this up now and refresh it on this page, so you can see, oh, let me remove this worry. So this is worry. So let me comment it out. I could just easily just put it back. It's not a comment, so I don't need to delete it. And refresh this. So it says, thank you, Kelly. Your account balance is 10. Yeah. I could also have the, okay, let me just make it like a bank sign. So I could put the NGN at the front of it. So NGN to show like the amount is holding, the currency, sorry. Yeah. So thank you, Kelly. Your account balance is 10 Naira. I could look for the Naira sign and add to it to also work. Now, this same thing can also be done like this. So you see why I said go with the double quote. So you can do it like this, or you can also do it like this also. So if I use a double quote, I could do something like this. So it's, remember, every line must end with a semicolon. You know, there's a flag and error. So I could say, thank you, and inside, I will just write the variables inside. Because it's a double quote, it is fine. But you can't do this with single quotes. Your pen balance is, so you can see I've combined everything together. So when the computer is seeing this, it's going to by itself look for. So if you look at when I select these variables, that it's going to map how many of these variables, and it's going to go back and say, oh, this variable requires. So you can see it's highlight. If I click on this variable, it's going to highlight variable 9. So okay, replace this variable with what is in this place. For this account balance, oh, it's going to look at, okay, what's the declaration? So 10. So this is the same thing basically. So that's I said, let's stick with the double quotes because it gives us. So most times we may not be using that concatenator because we're using double quotes. But this will not work for a single quote. So if I save this, this is just me saying go to the next line. BRO tag is an HTML tag. Just saying go to the next line. Yes, get this, echo this to me, skip the next line and do this. So let me refresh this and see. You can see. So it works. This works, this works. But if I make this a single quote, it's going to flag an error. So let's see. So this is so this is a single. So this, remember this. So I'm changing now to a single quote. Let's see if it will work for single quotes. Hold on. Okay, I'm audible there. So you can see for single quotes, it did not replace the username with Kelly. You just foolishly bring it out and say, thank you username. Account balances, thank you, account balance. Yeah, so let's stick with the, but if I want to do this in single quotes now, I have to now use the concatenation. So let's stick with double quote, because the double quote, while printing out to the user, we can just merge both string and data type together. The application will just help us decode what the variable is holding and just get it done. Yeah, so let's see. Okay, so we've done. Yeah, okay, so on string, so now we're going to go in deep into, so this one we'll cover today. So we're going to cover string, go deep into numbers, go into constants, do some arithmetic operations, look at comparison operators, look at incrementing a variable, look at logical operators, not coalescing, and dive into if statements. So let's start to this class. That was just a recap of last week's class, basically. So I also advise the YouTube, what I said last week is also on YouTube, so you can always go back and just do it. So let's look at, so as I'm doing it, I'm going to be deleting it so I don't skip anything. So let's look at string length. So what is string length basically? So let's say you are doing an application and you say you don't want the user to put more than 6 digits on a particular field. So let's say postcode, you have it, or let's say phone number, for example. Phone number is always 11, and you don't want the user to put more than 11 digits in that particular field. Remember, you must validate. You don't always trust the user to do the right thing. You just want to play the user and say, let's see how the system works. Let's see how we can hack this system. Now, how can we do that? String length can allow us to count the number of string in a particular variable. So I don't want to delete this. Let me just take it down so I can comment this out. Okay, so these are comments basically. So what I've done is I've converted this by code to comments instead of deleting it, so that people can just come back to it later. So let's say I've said phone number now, user phone number. Remember, your variable should make sense. So user phone number is equals to, now in real, so what I'm doing basically is that I am hard coding the value to the variable. But in real, if I'm getting this phone number, it should be something like this. So this .post.form. So this is mapping the phone number form from the user. Remember I told you that everything the user is filling in the form comes from this post variable. So when we're doing an application, this should be something like this. Phone number on our application, when we're doing our application. So, and this is mapping what the user have gotten from the form, the phone number section of the form. But since for now we've not built our form, so let's just we had code no value. But on real, this will be how we assign a form variable. So when I fill the form, this is how we'll get what user has filled on that particular form, because we'll name the form name at the front end. So we'll give this name to the form name at the front end. Then on our back end, we'll use this stuff to retrieve what the user has filled in that form. I will assign it to this variable. I'll run our test on this variable. I think that makes sense. Exactly. But now, since we don't have a form, let's just add code a value to it, and let's just say, okay, a user has filled something like this. He has filled 080 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 9 12 13 14. Now the user has filled something like this on our form. Now we'll get into our user phone number. Remember, the variable must make sense, so it's user phone number. Now I want to check if the user has complied with the 11 digits that our application needs. So how can we get the digits of this stuff? So that's where the string length does. If I put echo string length, so you can see lots of stuff you can use to manipulate string. But let's just use string length. So you can see string length, and PHP gives you, sorry, not PHP Storm, VS Code gives you a suggestion that, so these are all built-in functions you can use on a string. So remember, they are built-in variables, they are also built-in functions. So I didn't type anything, I just give me, do you mean string length? I said yes, okay, give me string length. And it's telling you that on this string length, what you are passing inside must be a string. So you can see this, it must be a string. You can't pass a number into it. So I said string length, yeah, and I put stuff here. And I said user phone number. basically. So what this does is that this stuff, so if I hover around it, it tells you this stuff gets the string length and returns an integer. So what this thing means is that the get string length is the description of, so when we are declaring our own function, we're going to stick with this rule. We're going to give it a beautiful name, a beautiful description, and the return value type, so that as a developer comes in, you understand, oh, this is what we're trying to do. So on this stuff now, this is a user-defined PHP. It's on all PHP by default. You don't have to run my code. It's on all PHP by default. So what it does is that it gets the length of the string and return the integer value of it. So if I save this stuff now and put it on my browser, refresh my browser, sorry, it's going to tell me 17. So this is 17 now. Now let's count. Let's see if it's correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So the user has broken our rules. Now, okay, so how do I do a validation here? We're going to go to if statement, but let me just show you how we do a validation here. Now, on this point now, I will say if. See, we have lots of programmers in the house. So somebody has said exactly what I was trying to do. So I said, why not use is not equals to 11? You can see it now. So exactly what I was just trying to change it to. So this thing is still saying, if the string length is not equals to 11, flag error. You get. So I wanted to do something like, so I wanted to do that. I wanted to see how we can refactor our code, make it simple. So let's go back and make this one work. So how then do we make this thing work? So I'm looking at how then do we make this work. So if string length is greater than 11, and so let's do something. I want to test what is returning here. So let's see where this stuff is coming from. So this is var dump. Var dump is you just trying to dump the code to see what is happening, basically. We're going to go into this statement. So I'm just trying to we're talking about string length, so don't forget about where we are. I'm going to show so this exactly. So this is sometimes we don't. So let's see where it's having an issue. I know which one is returning false. So let's refresh this. So this is true and this is false. So what it means is that this is true, it's greater than 11, and this is false. 17 is not less than 11. So this is returning false. So that's why. So okay, so let's go to Arithmetic. Let's just leave this. We'll come back to this later. So let's remember, so rule number 1, or let's say point number 1, string length is used to get the length of a string and returns an integer value. So let's say you want to get the length of the string. You use a string length, it will give you the length of that string. Can I use it for what you want to do? It's a built-in PHP function, basically. We're going to fix this also. I'm going to see where the issue is coming from. So 17 is greater than 11, but 17 is not less than 11. So that's where it's coming from. So what we can do here is that we can say if this is greater than 11 and if this is not equals to 11. So let's go back and so this will run now. I think this should run now. Let's see. No, it's still not running. So let's also debug why. Oh, sorry, it's not equals to. It's not equals to. This is not equals to. We're going to do that. If you look at my notes, I'm going to show you. So you look at my notes, you can see all these operators is here. So we're coming down gradually. So don't worry, we're going to do that. So it's not equals to 11. So let's run this now. So refresh this now. Yes, so it's shown now. But if you look at this stuff now, you see, so why I wanted to bring that stuff is that you see when you're writing your codes, what we call, so yes, the code is working. This code is working, but it's difficult to understand. Yeah, it's difficult to understand. Oh, sorry, let me just fix this. Okay. So the code is working, but it's difficult to understand. So there's something called refactoring. So you keep on working on your code, improving the logic. You keep on working on your code, improving. So I've not said, so fine, instead of using is greater than, let me just use this. Let me remove this. Okay, I'm only just complicating the issue. But that is greater than is greater than, is less than. My standard is 11. I don't really need this, and I cannot remove this and say, oh, fine. So you can see, so most times, so the way most people work is that just get it first of all working. They will not improve the code. So will say, no, as I'm coding, I want to make it very clean. But the standard I like is that as you are coding, make it very easy to understand. Just try and clean up the code as you're going through. Because you can see this I did, and this, they give you the same results, but this is more easier to understand than this. But you have to kind it's better than 11. Like I said, just make 11 the standard. 11 must be the standard. You get, so let's go through let's just go to the content and just see. Yeah, so operators. So PHP languages, any math you want to give PHP, it's going to solve it for you basically. Any math you're going to give it, it's going to solve it for you. So let's see. So what are operators? So you have, so in math you have so let's pick this out. Okay, so let's pick this out. Okay, let's work on this now. Let me cut this out. So I'm taking it one by one. Let's go back to this. And let me add it as a comment here. So this is a comment. So in PHP, you can run arithmetic operator on variables, basically, even on numbers. So the plus in PHP is a normal plus sign in your keyboard. The minus is your normal minus sign. The multiplication is your star sign, which is this, and the division is your slash. Then what is modulus? Modulus is to divide and give me the remainder of the division. So let's say I'm saying 4, remember 4 divided by 2 will give you 2, but 4 modulus 2 will give you 0 because there's no remainder on the fraction. I'm not really maths anyway, but I think that's so the sign for modulus is this. I'm sorry, this is the sign for modulus. So let's run a math here, and let's say equal 2 plus 3 times 5 3 times 5 plus 1000 times bracket of, it will solve it for you, 3 plus 13 times 2 times 2. So I'm trying to use all the math. Okay, minus. Okay, let me use minus 200. Yes, so I've used plus. So plus is plus, minus is minus. Division. Oh, I've not used division. Okay, let me use division. So plus 5 divided by, okay, let me say 15 divided by 3. So multiplication is multiplication, division is division, and it will also give you, it also do the board mass for you. So it's also the board mass for you. So let's save this and let's echo it in the browser. Let's see what our value will be. So let's go back, echo this. So you can see 60,082. I've done the math for you. You just click of a button, refresh, that's all. And if I make this 10 and I make this 50, so you could run mathematical operation. So you can definitely, you're be an app that does, definitely a bank app should do mathematical operation. A student computing results system, like a transcript system, should do mathematical operations. And you could also add, even so you could add, and you know, for numbers now, numbers for you to do a mathematical operation, it has to be like a valid number. And a valid number are either an integer number, a whole number, or a floating number, a decimal number. Remember, this is an integer number, a whole number. This is a decimal number, floating number. So let's say plus, I want to add a floating number 3.142. Definitely our mass should end with a 3.142. But let's see the mass. Well, at least our mass should have a fraction now. So let's test it. So you can see it's 142 ending it. So it's just collate the mass, follow board mass, follow the normal mathematical standard. So if you are doing a bank app, if you are doing a student relation app, if you are doing an e-commerce app, you have to add the cards of the user in the basket to get the total number, total amount the user is paying. It will do it for you. It's just normal mass. Then let's do modular. So I think we've done this. So it's normal mass, just plus. But the rule is that you cannot add a string to a string. So let's say, for example, I am doing equal plus 3. And I refresh this. See, it's fatal error. It just tells you there's an error on line 43. Unsupported string. You cannot add a string to an integer. So the rule is that when you are doing a mathematical operation, it has to be either an integer or a decimal number. So if you stick to that rule, it will run the math for you. You cannot break, so you can't do a string, you can't do a bool, you can't do an array, except the array position is an integer. Or so I could do something like this here now. I could do something like 4, let's say 40 here, or 50 here, and add a comma. Remember, every position in an array must be separated by a comma. So you look at this array now, I'm separating every position with a comma. So you know, okay, this is a partition, this is a partition, so a comma separate them. So I could pick this stuff, and also maybe plus this. So let's say this plus this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So I want to get the third position of this 3. So 3. Yeah, so it will run because it will go to this array. As long as this third position is an integer, it's fine. There's no play with it. So let me do this and refresh it. So you can see it run. So you can add an array to it or a variable, but as long as that variable value must be an integer or a decimal. Yes, then we could add a modular. So what's modular? So 10 modular 3. I think so. This should give us 1. So the remainder, a modular is just like it gives you. So it doesn't give you the whole division. It gives you the remainder. So I think 10 divided by 3 is 3, but remaining 1. So the modular will give you the remainder. Let's say you have built an application that maybe you have some logic for the remainder. So you use modular. So if I get this now on the browser, it should give us 1. So that is the remainder. So modular gives you the remainder, not the whole number of digits. Okay, so you can run. So let's just say you are doing a student result compilation. So let's just say student results. And somebody was asking when do we use username? When do we use variables or array? So this is an example now. Student results now. So student results. I'm trying to make the variable as easy as time. I know that students can have 100 level, 200 level, 200 level, 400 level results. So I want to use an array to hold those multiple values. So I'll pick an array here, and I'll put in now. Sorry, if the array does not have, so this array we're creating now, it's just a simple array, but PHP will give it an index number because we're not declaring an index number on the array. So by default, when your array does not have an index number, PHP will use 0, 1, 2, 3. But you can also declare your indexes by yourself. So how do I do that? Student results, and I put here 100 level is equals to, let's say the student got 3.142 as his GPA, something like that. Now remember, if PHP sees this now, I'm overriding PHP default of 0, 1, 2, 3. If I don't create this key, PHP will use 0, 1, 2, 3, just like this, 0, 1, 2, 3. Now, because I've created a key now, I can't use 0, 1, 2, 3 anymore. I have to call it by the key, which is 100 now, which I'm giving it. So then 200, the person got, let's say 3.14. Then 300 and 400, for example. This is after running through my logic, I've now gotten this array of a student 100 level to 400 level result. Now I want to now get the cumulative GPA of this. So it depends on, so that's why I said as a developer, as a software engineer, you ask them, okay, what is your cumulative? Is it 25, 25, 25? Is it 10, 15, 20? Is it Yeah, so let's say for this plate, I'm not making it very practical, so we can see where. So let's say for this, we're using 10% of this. We're using 20% of this to get the cumulative now. I want to run a program 30% of this. I don't know if it will add up, but let's just see. And 40% of this. I think it should give 100. Let's see. So yeah, this is 100%. So let's say I'm using 10% of the 100 level, 20 level, 20%. Now you want to run the math on this. Remember, so this, let's say for example, so if I was doing this talk, database, get the student result, complete array, level the same thing, level the same thing. Now I've gotten this stuff, but we've not gotten the database, so we've not gotten that. So we're just trying to have good values into this stuff to see how we can work on use the mathematical operation on this stuff. So let's say this. Thank you. So let's get this now. We want to do a mathematical operation. Now let's say, okay, so students. So let's go. Students cumulative student CGPA. GPA. Oh, let's go. Students. Divided by 40%. Okay, 40%. So I can also say instead of having this divided by times 0.1, I think it should be the same thing. Then times 0.2, I think it should be the same thing. We'll check our outputs. Times 0.3. I'm now refactoring my code to make it easy. I already know it's the percentage. Then times 0.4. 1.4. Then so you can see someone asks. So you can see because I know that a student can have multiple results. I'm not using a variable. I'm not using an array. Because I know okay, student can have. Then I'll now say okay, echo your cumulative GPA is equals to. I'm using a double quote so I can add this into it straight up. Doesn't really matter. Student CGPA. Save this. Let's refresh. Let's see. We have errors. So we have errors online. Good. We have errors single quote online 44. So let's go back. So instead of line 44, we have errors. Good. Online 44. Where's line 44? Let's see. Okay. So let's try to stick to the double quotes. And let me remove. Okay. And let me remove this quotes I'm putting in the lens. Oh, so has anybody been able to spot the error on this array? Is anyone that spot the error on this array? I need someone to spot the error on this array. I spotted it.
Yeah, the commas.
Exactly, the commas. So you can see the first one does not have a comma. So if you save it now, I will go back here, I'll refresh it. Yeah, you can see your cumulative GPA is 3.14122. So I like this, that's why I like the live class. You see that it's not as if I'm cramming this code, I'm just doing at the go and it's prone to errors. I will debug the error and I'll fix it together. So you can see it has done the cumulative and you're giving you the cumulative based on the, remember the requirements, this requirement is coming from the school. As a developer, you're getting the requirements for the school. And you can also say, so the bit of so you can also say every department has their own logic. So I can also add something here and say, if this is a computer science department, use this structure. If it's an engineering department, use this. You have different logic like that. Yeah, so remember, an array, every segment must be separated with the comma. That was the error we're having. And you could run mathematics as long as that value of the array or the variable is an integer or a floating number, a decimal number, you can run mathematical expression and PHP will give you the value, the correct answer for it. So we could proceed. So we've done arithmetic operation. I think that's fine. I think it's clear now. I don't know revision. So you could do Is anyone bringing any example that we could run? Or let's proceed. Or any question?
No question for now from here.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. I think it's fine then. Okay, that's fine. So let's go to so random. Okay, good. So we've done this. So let's go to random. Now because we're still in numbers, so sometimes you want to get you want to send a verification code. There's somebody wants, so let me just comment this out. As we're doing this, I'll be commenting them out. So let me comment this. I'm using multi-line comments, so comment it down. Now let's say you want to do, you're doing a software that does a verification code that sends a random number to verify. Now how can you get that? PHP already has a built-in random number generator for us. So what do we do that? You can just say random number is equals to rand. So this is, if I look at this stuff now, if I go through this stuff now, this function gives you a random number. So this stuff tells you generate a random integer. Very simple. Very simple. It just tells you, okay, so you don't need to cram, just say generate a random integer. So this just gives you, it's like a spool. It just gives you a random integer. Just a random integer. And if I say echo this random number and go to the browser, refresh this, see it's changing without me doing anything. She's just giving me, so I can use this as a verification code for a user. Okay, let's say you want to do this. I say, okay, put in OTP code. You have to put OTP code. So PHP just gives you random number. It never is the same thing. And I can also say, okay, fine, give the number between. So I can say, okay, give the number between. So you can see on this stuff, it's saying two things. You can generate a random number, and you can also give PHP the minimum integer and the maximum integer to generate for you a number. Now I want to make that thing a 6-digit number. I can say, so PHP, the minimum number should be this, and the maximum number should be 999,999. So PHP will give you a 6-digit random number between this and this that you can use to send your user as OTP code, for example. Just an example. So let's refresh. So you can see it's 6 digits. And so it's changing. It's never the same thing. As you can see, so rand is just used to create random number. If you don't give it a minimum or maximum, you just generate any number for you. But you can also position and say, okay, I want 6 digits, so start from this to this. So it will not go beyond the range you've given it, basically. So random number. And if you notice what I've done is that, so I've tried to stick with the rule of writing, making my variables easy to understand. And if you look at these variables, please, let's do a review of your work. This is the internet. I have a bad network. Okay, that's fine.
I think the recording will work for that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I understand some reasons have a bad network. They're trying to drain and go, I understand. So if you look at what I've done is that I make sure that first of all, I make sure that my variables are well named. Then because sometimes you need to join words together. User first name is user logged in. Now your first word always starts with a small letter. Then every word going forward, make the word an uppercase. You get, so you can say random number for OTP. So because I know OTP is a special, like OTP stands for, I can make OTP stuff. So you can see this stuff now is easy to read. So random number for OTP. Yeah. So, but if I just made it random number or small letter, it will be difficult to read. So your first word should be a small letter. Then every other word you're adding to, make it capital letter for as you're joining it, so it will be easy for read. So if you follow this rule, so that you will not need to have comments on your code. Like this stuff now, I know this is a student result. So this 100 level, 20 level, 300 level, 400 level. This is the student's CGPA. So if I have this stuff in my code, now I don't need to add comment to it. If you come to my code, you know, oh, at this point I get the 100 level result. Oh, okay, this is the community. So my code just be clean and devoid of comments. So I only add comments when I'm doing logic that is difficult to explain in a variable. You get, so let's say for example, I'm doing a logic that the user is buying for, and I'm adding a special discount. I can't put that in the variable. You get is a hair. So I need to split, okay, at this point, I'm adding a 10% discount because the user has shopped up to this amount, or I've done this amount, and I cannot add it to. But if it's something that you can avoid, the variable naming, just avoid comments basically. Yeah, so that's arithmetic operation. So I think so. Let's proceed. So we've done random. So I've said this is random to generate random number. This is when you give it a range, it generates in between that range. So let's do constants. So what are constants? So constant is just the opposite of variables. So remember, a variable is a number that does not change. Sorry, a variable holds a value that changes. A constant is used to hold a value that does not change. An example of constant is pi. So let's say you're declaring a variable in your system. You're doing a mathematical software, and pi is always 3.142. You ask yourself, which is best to hold pi? Is it as a variable or as a constant? Now, because you know that pi will always be 3.142, I think it's best to hold pi as a constant because it will never change. But for variables, it can change. So for example, this phone number, the user may put in 16 digits and you bounce the user. You forgot. You can go back and change it. So you cannot use constant for that because the user can edit those stuff. This stuff for student A, it can be 3.142. For student B, it can be 4.0. So you cannot use a constant for that. It changes per student. It changes per level. So use a variable. But when you know that you are very sure that you have a constant or a variable that will not change, then use the constant. So how do we declare constant in PHP? Just very simple. const. So you can see it's giving me a suggestion that it is constant. Then the rule for constant, which I think align with clean code, is that constant should start with all capital letters. So it should be like pi, then is equals to 3.1142. Then if I put echo pi, so I should get the 3.140. So I should get the 3.140 here. You see it now. So pi 3.142. Now let me now try to assign this pi to another thing. So let me go back to online 56. I declare pi as 3.142. On line 57, I declare pi as 3.143. And let's see what our program will do. Because remember, the rule says that a constant does not change. So let's see if our application will change it. If you refresh it, tells you constant pi already defined on line 57. As such, it cannot change. You get. So when you are very sure that the value you are holding will not change, you stick with the pi. And so where do I use pi? You stick with the constant. So where do I use constant? For example, you're building an app that the currency will always be in naira. You cannot declare currency. There's a currency code as NGN. So NGN. So you know that your currency will always be in naira, or your time zone. You are building an application and your time zone is always Lagos, Nigeria, because PHP has different time zone. You are very sure that your time zone will never change. You can put dates time zone is equals to Africa / Lagos. So when you are creating time in your application, PHP will use the time zone of the African Lagos. Because if you don't give it the time zone, PHP will use the time zone of your server. And your server may be hosted in US. You get. So when you are very sure that these things will not change, it's always good to use a constant. So if I refresh this stuff now, it's going to give me NGN. So that's constant. Constant does not change. Once declared, you can use it over and over and over. Opposite of variable. Variable is a constant that change, basically. So I think so. We've done this. Yeah, we've done constants. Now let's go into operators now. So let's go into if statements. So what are if statements basically? if statement is just for you. It's just so each statement is just a conditional statement. So you're checking just like you speaking normal English. If this is not English, if this is this, then do this. If this is this, so you are giving your system a condition to go through. So let's go back to this. Let me take it back. And let's go back to this mathematical equation. Now, we now want to say, let's say we're doing a GP calculator. And we want to now output, so we want to output is it first class, second class, third class for the user? Now, I think first class should be 4.0 to 5 now for first class. Second class should be, I think, 3.5 to 4.99. Second class, the same to third class. Now, you see at this point now, you are having a segregation. Yeah, so that's like an if statement. You're already having a condition that the user must meet. So before even going to programming language, on RE, you are saying if the user CGPA is between this to this, it means it's a first class. If it's this to this, second class, then lower, then that you get to fail. So the same way it is for the computer. So you just go to the computer and say, okay, if this, do this. If this, do this. If this, so that's if statement basically. So to declare if statement in PHP, you just do an if. Now you see it. Now if. Now this will be your condition. Inside here, you put your condition. And if that condition evaluates to true, it will run what is in this bracket. So remember, if this will be your condition you are testing, and your condition must evaluate to either true or false, a boolean. So your condition must evaluate to either true or false, a boolean. So this is your condition. If this condition is true, run whatever code you are putting in here, run it. So I could say, so if student CGPA is less than it's greater than, it's greater than, let's start from the top, greater than, I think first class should be 4.5. okay, it's greater than or equals to the same thing, greater than or equals to 4.5. But I just want to show you first class, second class, third class. I'm just going to convert it into computer algorithm. So 4.5 and student GPA is less than or equals to, is less than or equals to 5, then echo, then echo congratulations slash first class. Please, if you ask question, you can just, anywhere you're missing it, you can just feel free to just. So we're just trying to say, we're just trying to look at bringing out the right first class and class for the user. So I'm saying, and please, if you have any questions, just try and drop in the chat. I'm already checking my chat as I'm going through, so feel free. So on this stuff, we're saying, remember, we've gotten, the system has calculated the CGPA of the user, of the student, and we're not saying, we're not just, so you test based on 4 conditions. So let me just give the conditions to test. So there's equals to, remember this first equals to is the assignment operator. So assignment operator, and we use it to assign a variable to a value. So this is not for testing. This is just to assign a variable to a value, not for testing. Then we have this also equals to. So the double equals to now is to test if the variable on the left is the same as the variable on the right. So let me do something like this. So if I'm doing something like this, so if 4 is equals to 4, so this will be true. But if 4 is equals to 5, it will be false. So let me show you this. So somebody asking if null is the same as false. I think I like this. Somebody asked this question the last time. So null and false are almost the same thing, very close, but they're not the same thing. So if you are testing with empty, it will give you the same thing. But if you are testing with is null or is false, it will give you different things. So let me just quickly answer this question. I think I got distracted, but sorry, that's fine. They've gone now. So let me say null is equals to null variable false, because this is they're very close, is equals to false. Now let me test with empty. So let's see. So if empty, then I put in, so I'm just empty just means that I'm checking if this thing is empty. So if empty null echo empty. So let's test this for, so we're testing now. Remember, you have to test what user is giving you. So you have to test, so this test is just validation. We're validating that user is giving us the right data. So let's test this now on our browser. Let's see what it will give us. So you can see it gives us, so it has given us empty. So it's empty. So let's test. So for null, it has given us, we've tested empty for null. It gives us, yes, it's empty. Remember, if this evaluates to true, it will run the code in this stuff. That's if statement. If statement is, if this must evaluate to a boolean. If it evaluates to a boolean, it will run the stuff in all the code you have in this bracket. It will run it. If not, if it's false, it will skip this session and just continue running your code. Yes. So let's do for false also. So let's bring false in here and test for false also with empty. Now you can see I tested for false, it's also bringing that empty. So what it means is that when you are testing with empty for null and false, because it sees both false as an invalid or as an empty, does not have anything that it is false. The same thing it sees null. But if you want to test explicitly for each of them, now this is where you do different. Now what I want to get now, I will now use is null. So I want to test is null. So I'm testing is false null. So let me put x echo not null. So remember, if statement, it will evaluate what is inside there, and it must evaluate to a true or false. If it's true, it will run what is this. But now other than x statement, so x is, if this evaluates to false, it will run the s part of it. So this is a simple logic. If this evaluates to true, it will run what is inside here. If not, if it's false, it will run the x part of it. Just simple concept. So let's test is null for false. And you see it goes as nope. So because for is null, false is a boolean data type. It is not a null data type. And so if I want to test now for false, I will use is bool. So why empty sees both null and false as empty? Because they are like, they don't really hold the data set, a data value that makes sense. False, null is like empty. But if you want to test for them specifically, you use the is null to check and the is bool to check. So at that point you cannot separate, is it a null value or is it a boolean value? But the empty will just see it part of, yeah, basically. So we're going through so remember, this stuff must evaluate to either a true or a false, and we're going to how to test for true or false. Now let's go back here and get this stuff in. I'll skip this. So if you have any question, just feel free to put it on the chat. We'll get it answered and sorted. So now this is a equals to, we're trying to check is the value on the left equal to the value on the right. Remember, so is 4 equals to 5? No, this will evaluate to false. As such, what is here will not run. So if I show you, let me show you. echo 4 is equals to 4. X echo 4 is not equal to 4. You see it now. So if this evaluates and it returns true or false, if this is true, it will tell you 4 is equals to 4. If this is false, if it evaluates to false, it's going to tell you 4 is not equals to 4. So let me also, so let's see. So what would, if we run this code, what would this give us? If we run this code, just look at it and let's see what would this give us. I've said if 4 is equals to 5, then echo 4 is equals to 4. X 4 is not equals to 4. Now what? So let's just see what would this give us. Let me see if I'm getting it at all. But let's just do a human compiling. I'm waiting because you have to prove to me that you guys are getting it too. If not, we'll start all over again from the beginning. So I said, if remember this stuff must evaluate to a true or a false. I'm using a double equals to, not an assignment variable. So I'm doing a comparison of the left to the right. Nobody's answering. Are we asleep? Are we asleep? Am I audible? Can you hear me? Shit.
Yes, we can hear you.
I was surprised. I was surprised I wasn't. Sorry. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. I was surprised I was not audible. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's just proceed. So the stuff is, so remember, this stuff will must evaluate to a boolean, and a boolean is a true or a false. It's a must. If it does not evaluate to a boolean, it's going to be an error that your expression is wrong. So now 4 is not equals to 5, and I'm comparing. So this is the stuff. Let me just give you the 6 operators. So this is equals to, then we have this is greater than, just normal mass. It's normal mass. I think they're greater than, yeah. Then this is less than the normal mass too. Then this is greater than or equals to, still your normal mass, greater than or equals to. So this is like we're comparing the left and the right. This is less than or equals to. Yeah, then this is not equals to. Yeah, so these are the 6 operators we'll be using. Then we'll add, later we'll add 2 to it. But let's use the 6 first. So this is equals to, so I'm saying what is on the left, is it equals to what's on the right? If we run this code down, it's going to give us 4 is not equals to 4. Or, okay, let me see, let me just make it, let me make it left is not equals, is equals to right. And let me say left is not equals to right. I think this makes more sense. So let me just say 4. So remember, we're comparing this to this. And we're saying, so let's run this up. Let's see what's true. So you can see left is not equals to right. Why? Because it has evaluated this code and see that this is not equals to this. So it's not run this. This is the true part of the logic. This is the false part of the logic. If this is not here, it's going to skip and just continue processing. It's going to be blank. This is it. So now what if I made this 4 and we run this? See, left is equals to right now. So because I'm testing is 4 equals to 4, then yes, it goes to 4. Now let me show you something. Now string, PHP is a very funny language. So let's add a string to this 4, and let's see what will happen. Now I'm not saying is 4 of a string type equals to 4 of an integer type. So if I run this now, let's see what to show. It's still giving me 4 is equals to 4, left is equals to the right. So what it means is that somebody may put this string and your program will accept it, but meanwhile, when you're going to run a calculation maybe below your code, it's going to flag out an error, because what you're looking for is it must be a string, it must be an integer, not a string. So how do we do that? We add another equals to. So what this does is, so let me show you the difference between this and this. So this does two things. So this does equals to in terms of value, and also check if the data type, remember data type now, string are the same. So this does extra work. It will check, yes, 4 is equals to 4, but is 4, are they equal in data type? Yes, they are equal in values, but are they equal in data type? So if you are doing a strict comparison, you're going to use this 3 equals to. So 4 of a string is not equals to 4 of an integer. Yes, they are the same in value, but they are different in data type. So if I load this up and refresh this, I'm going to show you left is not equals to right. Because yes, if I use the double 2, they are equals to. If I add the third one to it, they are not equals to. So the same thing for this also. This will do. If I add another double quote equals to this, it's going to also check if they are the same data type. So please, at this point, I want to ask questions. I think we're not doing. So let's ask questions about this if statement. So these are what to do. So it's just like you doing your normal math. Is it greater than? Is it greater than? Is it less than? So let's say, for example, a user is trying to send money from his account to another account. You check, is the account balance, or is what the user sending, is it greater than the account balance is having? If it's true, then do this. If it's not true, then do this exactly. So we're checking. Then probably, okay, let me see. I think I have a question. Let me see. It says, oh wow, they say they're falling. That's beautiful. It's good to know. It's good to know. It's good to know. Wow, that's lovely. So we have greater than. That's lovely. So greater than, less than, greater than equals to. So let's test each of them now. Let's run a test on each of them. So this stuff now. Now let me catch you guys now. What will be? So you guys, you are following. So you could tell me what will be the output of this now. I've changed the equator now. So look at this stuff. Look at this stuff I'm giving you. Now, before the compiler runs it, let's look at this stuff and let's run it. So what will be output here on this stuff? So let's delete this. Let me say I'm not confident. Let's delete all this. So what will be the output on this application? So what will be? So let's see. Let's see. So what will be output here?
Okay. Let me confirm. The equal to, the not equal to with double equal sign. You will say it means not equal to, and also check if the data type are the same or are not the same.
Yes.
Since it's the first part is negated, is the second part also negated? Will it check if the data type are not the same?
Yes.
Or are the same?
So it's going to evaluate. So the stuff is that it's going to check are not equals to, and that equals to will also check are the data type not the same.
Okay, not.
Exactly. So what will be output here? We're going into programming logic. So you have, because I remember last week I said I think there are like 3 types of errors. One is syntax errors. That's simple. You don't put a quote, you miss a comma. In fact, the compiler will tell you, oh, you have a syntax error. There's another error called logical error. That logical error is that yes, your code is correct, but the result you are getting is not correct because you've not gotten the logic right. So your logic must be correct. If not, the code will run. The server will process the code, but the result the server will give you is not the result you're expecting because something in your logic is not right. And computer is garbage in, garbage out. Exactly. So you must actually know what you are giving the computer. So is this not too high, or should I reduce it? Or let's start from a low greater than less than. I'm not saying what is answering though.
Kelly, I think it should be true.
It should be true. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, type mismatch. So left is equals to right, I think. Okay, so true. Okay, type mismatch. Okay. Okay, so I say type mismatch. Equals to right. Okay, so please add. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's true. Okay. So this is spaceship. Okay. Okay. This is spaceship. Okay. Okay, so left is equals to right. Okay, so let's run and let's see what the compiler will give us. So first it says true. So let's see. So left is correct, it's true. Now, okay, so those that say true, can you explain it why it's true? So, Mr. Trust, can you just explain to us why it's true so others can understand?
Okay. For especially okay, what it means here is 4 is not equal to 4 and not the same data type. I think the first part 4 would have been equal to 4, but not the same data type. So which is true in this case because the left side is not equal to the right side. That's correct. That is true. So that was my logic.
Perfect. So this stuff is just saying, so let's read it in English. 4 of a string is not equals to 4 of an integer. So it's true. And also 4 of a string is not the same type as 4 of an integer, which is true. So this is true. You get, so the same thing with 10, for example, is greater than 20 or 24. This is false. So to run this part of the code. But if you do 10 is greater than 10, this is false because 10 is not greater than 10. But if you do 10 is greater than or equals to 10, this is true. So you can have this part can be, so you could say user sending amount is equals to, let's say 10. User account balance, for example, is equals to 10. Now you cannot say if user sending account so is greater than, so user sending account is greater than so this is the amount the user wants to send. This means that the user is sending, let's assume the user is sending 100, the user wants to send 100 naira, but the user account balance is 10 naira. Your program should flag that what you are sending is more than what's your balance, so we cannot process the sending. So we cannot say if this is greater than this, then insufficient funds. But if it's fine, process. So processing, let's just say processing, for example. Yes. Now this is simple. Now this user sending amount is 100. Now is 100 is greater than 10. This is the user balance. You get, and this can also be like, so you can also write this in this part also. This if account balance is less than the sending amount. So account balance is 10. Is it less than the sending amount? Then it's sufficient fund. Because you should send what you are sending, your account balance should be greater than what you are sending. I don't know if it's making sense. So let's run this, let's see. So you can see insufficient fund. Because what you are sending, you want to send 100 naira. Yeah, okay, somebody just put the thumbs up. Okay, that's fine. You want to send 100 naira, but what is in your balance is 10 naira. So how about if I have 10 naira on my account and I want to send 10 naira? You get. So why is this showing insufficient fund? It's just showing insufficient fund. Oh, it's showing processing. Okay, sorry. Let me see. So let's go back. I want to show you something. It's account balance less than. So let's swap it the other way around. So it's greater than, and it is so if account balance, which is 10, is greater than so 10 should not be greater than 10. Let me prove this. Let me see. This should value to false. So it's 10 greater than 10. 10 is not greater than 10, so it's doing the processing. Because I'm right already. So let me go back and do this. So we have to swap this language. So if this is this, let's come to this. Put this in. So let's read this. So this is saying if sending amount. So if account balance is greater than sending amount, then let's process. So you can see. So if what you have in your account is greater than what you are sending, so let's make it sending. Oh, sorry, sending amount. Yeah, so let's process. S, let's say insufficient fund. So now, what will be the output of this stuff? These are just normal accounts. You are doing a transfer. Your account balance is 10. You want to send 10. And the code you are saying, if account balance is greater than sending amount, if it's true, echo processing. X, if it's false, echo insufficient fund. So what will be the output of this code?
Processing.
Yes. Processing. Okay, so anybody again? So is 10 greater than 10? Is 10 greater than 10?
Oh, okay.
Insufficient.
Exactly. So insufficient fund. Yeah, 10 is not greater than 10. 10 is equals to 10, not greater than 10. So you can see, yeah, so false, exactly. So it's going to be false. So it's going to give us insufficient fund. But let's see. It's interesting. So you can see insufficient funds. Because why? 10, this is stuff that 10 is not greater than 10. So what it means is that, let's say your bank want to have you to have minimum of 1 naira in your account. Minimum of 1 naira in your account at least. So 10 is not greater than 10. But how about if you want to now make 10? Yeah, if you have 10 and you want to send 10, so how do you now update the logic to allow that? We now have an equals to. So it now says, so we go back to this stuff, if 10 is greater than 10 or 10 is equals to 10, then evaluate to true and run this processing. So if I run this now, just with this equals to I've added at the top of it, it will allow you to process. That one now the bank is saying, okay, take all your money, we're not going to charge you any holding fee at 0 naira. Yeah, something like that. So if you don't this now to be processing basically. So we just say, so you can change your logic with just, so that's why I say you must understand the requirements of what the stakeholder is looking for. So it's not just program. If you program without understanding the requirements, you just program, they go one side, the requirement they go to that side. So you must really understand. As I say, for coding is just the tip of for software engineering. You must understand the requirement. Understanding is very error. You can lose Yeah, so that's why most times before they deploy, they have to do multiple tests. They will test this, they will test for this, make sure that okay, all your logic are doing all the tests basically. So please, at this point, so is there any question? I think we have a very short distance today because I think I have someone's good. I have an appointment to meet by 1. So let's just answer any question as regards this. They will pick it up. So I think where we are currently in the stuff, they just take like a 15 minutes question. Where we are currently is that we are somewhere here. I'm going to keep this. So we've not done this, we've not done negation, we've not done, I love this non-collection, we've not done increments, but we've looked at this basically. We understand this is the left equals to right just in value. This is the left equals to right in value and data type. This is the left not equals to right. This is the left not equals to right and also not equals in data type. This is the left greater than the right. This is the left less than the right. This is the left greater than or equals to the right, and this is the left less than or equals to the right. So this must evaluate to true or false. If it does not get to true or false, your code will bring us an error. So we're still building to if statements, but these are the tests we will do in the if test in the if statements. Yeah, and I've added this last one also. So please, is there any question? I'm going to explain this one next. Is there any question, please? I don't want to ask a question. You can just be logic. Let's play with the logic and let's just see where Mr. I think Vincent. I don't know if Vincent is still here. Please, let's ask a question, please.